All right, I read another book by an author that I've never read before, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Russian author. The book was Crime and Punishment, written in 1866 during the Tsarist era, post serfdom, pre Bolshevik, kind of the incubus period of this Russian nihilism that's starting to swell up, which the Bolsheviks are. They adopt this kind of it's all relative. They want to overthrow the government. Um, that's when kind of moved into this communist period, and God is dead. You know, this sort of this Nietzsche type period in history where in fact Nietzsche loved Dostoevsky because Dostoevsky had these nihilistic type characters in his novels. So this is a unique period of history when this book is written, like right in between. Like I was born, just after the beatnik area and just prior to the hippie area. So this kind of in between period, which is when this book is written, and the author himself is a very devout Orthodox Russian. He's kind of xenophobic in that, through his observations, he can see the low moral characters of some of these foreigners that are living in St. Petersburg. So he gets a little criticism for that, but he's just basing it all based on his Christian values. He doesn't like the way that these other characters are behaving in his country. So he writes some of that into the characters of the people in his novels. Like he's even got he comes from nobility, and I think there's even some Polish background maybe in his family, but he has low views of some of these Polish Catholic socialistic ideas that these people are trying to promote. So the main protagonist in his story is this guy Rodion Romanovich. I don't know, I'm going to butcher his name, but he's like a 23-year-old intellectual ex-student who is struggling with this idea of murdering somebody because that person is a Shylock who's loaning to people at an interest rate. They're making all this money and she's hoarding all this money and she's not doing good with the money. And so he's like, look, Napoleon murdered all these people and they built statues after him. Why can't I just murder this loathsome character, take the money, and then I will be able to finish school. I will move up in my status in life. I can take care of my family. I can do good with the money. And the character himself, although kind of a nihilistic person, has these Christian values that are unparalleled of anybody I've ever personally met. He's just given all his money to the poor. He gets money, and then he stumbles across this scene where somebody gets run over by a carriage. They die. The wife is despondent. He gives all his money to the wife that he had just received from his mother. So he's got this great inner set of values that he's promoting, but at the same time he's plotting to kill this person. So this dichotomy that this character is going through, and the book is written in this Socrates style of debate, of deep philosophical thinking. So he does commit the murder, and he kind of blunders it, and it turns into a double murder, and there's a pre-murder Rajan and a post-murder Rajan. They're different characters, the same person, but the stress of having just murdered somebody and butchered it and trying to get away with it and trying to cover his tracks. I mean, the psychology of what that guy is going through, it's all written in this deep prose. And the Sherlock Holmes type character is this detective that kind of starting to figure out through a series of events who the actual murderer is, even though other people have been arrested, other people have confessed. The dialogue between the main character and the detective is some of the greatest dialogue I've ever read in literature. Dostoevsky completely blows away some of the American writers that I've read. Hemingway, by far, just, Steinbeck. I loved Harper Lee, but her characters compared to Dostoevsky were shallow as a pie pan. Her plot, it's a great, 1920s Deep South, racism, To Kill a Mockingbird. And so the characters can only go so deep, Dostoevsky puts in these pseudo-intellectuals, and there's the well of conversation is so deep with these characters that it's I didn't really know anything about the author until I was halfway done the book, and then I said, you know what, I got to read about this guy. And the accolades that he had received during his lifetime just blew me away. He was so well revered as a writer by people on the right and the left, atheists and Christians, and I think it's all well deserved. He personally himself, he thought that Protestantism, which was what I am, I'm a Protestant, would ultimately be hypocritical and kind of turn on itself. He thought the highest form of Christianity was Russian Orthodoxy. And he even believed that if somebody were to prove to him that Jesus was not the Messiah, or that it was totally false, that Jesus didn't even exist, for example, he would still follow Jesus Christ. That's how much he loved and revered that Messiah figure in his own personal life. He didn't turn out to be this crazed writer like a lot of Western writers who end up being like Jack Kerouac, total drunks dying before their 50s, or Hemingway, total drunk who committed suicide. He kind of lived a full life and had a big funeral and was well respected, and famous and well respected in his lifetime. So I love this guy. I'm gonna read The Idiot, is another one of his books next. There's some deep plot lines. I've already read a little bit about this book, and I'm just looking forward to it because this author, Fyodor Dostoevsky, I think is one of the greatest writers who ever lived. And I highly recommend Crime and Punishment to anybody, especially if they're going to be like, to be like a psych major in college, or want to study philosophy. This guy is just a phenomenal author, and he's not writing from this extreme left-wing atheistic point of view. It's an actual. You can, if you read it with an open mind, you can see how people on the right and the left are thinking, and then you can kind of draw your own conclusions about life and philosophy and the meaning of life just by reading this one book alone. It's just such a helpful book to read. And if you're young and you're not you don't have all the experience of life, read it, but then read it again once you hit 50 years old and you've got all this experience in life, and it'll have a much deeper, richer meaning to you. So 2 thumbs up for Crime and Punishment, and 2 thumbs up for Fyodor Dostoevsky. Great author, mad props. Hope you enjoy my review.